Hello everyone. I have recently just read the whole chapter, One Piece chapter of 922. The chapter was very interesting and it was very epic and badass at the same time. Now, my thing with the chapter, I guess my thoughts about the chapter would be just it was very epic while at the same time very funny to me at the same time because were in the beginning of the chapter, and no spoilers or anything. It's just um, Law kind of got into a small scrimmage or a small argument with some members of the Straw Hats. Like basically, he's kind of reluctantly revealed that Luffy, Zoro, and him had kind of revealed like what's their identities to Kaido's men and Kaido to a degree with themselves because of course these past couple of chapters as Law has said in this chapter is that Luffy has been bonding with different people in different villages and towns doing good things and whatnot and taking down the messed up hierarchy of Kaido's people, which are the headliners and whatnot. So that kind of led to their identities being like discovered and in jeopardy at the same time. So Law, well, as usual, he's being. I don't blame him for being how he is right now. Is basically he was saying that look, we need to try and formulate a plan, a good concrete plan to try and regroup and do what we gotta do to take down Kaido. Because by the end of the day, it's like, all right, yeah, you technically have, well, in my words, you have basically all the three strongest supernova that are revealed um, on the island, which is Luffy, Zoro, and Law, because hypothetically they are supernovas. So you reveal those supernovas slash captains and one um what's the word, two captains and one first mate. But at the same time, the rest of the crews are technically safe. Like they basically kind of doesn't know the true identity of them, so that's all good and dandy and whatnot. Now, this is my last statement about the whole argument is Sanji was first pointing fingers and questioning Law on his judgment, saying, "What the heck did you do at the time period with us being on the low from Kaido and running away? Because if this mission is that imperative for us to be like incognito, hiding from Kaido, and then making an uprising later on with a big war somewhere else from these towns, that means you probably done something wrong." Then Law comes up saying, "Y'all Straw Hats have no right to ask me something." And again, sadly, even though Law's being a what's the word? He's being pessimistic to a degree as usual. He's also being cold and calculating and logical, which I kind of respect him as a captain because, heck, even I said, Sanji, that doesn't make no dang sense for you to ask this man if he jeopardized the whole mission because, if anything, he's the sole foundation of the whole like plan and whatnot. He's the foundation of the whole thing being put together and the dominoes coming to effect. Yeah, essentially, he was a pussy at one point in time of trying to make a domino effect by, stopping Smile from Punk Hazard and then messing up, more productions in Dressrosa with whatever Doflamingo was doing in Dressrosa with his black armament deals to making more man-made devil fruits, but it's just by at the same time, whew, um, he's been doing that for years. He's been basically just chilling in Punk Hazard literally for years and decades, pun intended, with with Caesar not doing anything at all. Even when he was experimenting with children, he wasn't doing anything at all. He was just sitting there manipulating the situation and manipulating, you know, his positioning in the One Piece world, which was getting good rep with um with the Navy so he could become one of the seven warlords essentially, or have the entitlement for himself so he can be in line with Doflamingo and what he's doing. So there can be a neutral partnership in a sense because there is history. We've seen the back history back in Dressrosa with Doflamingo and Law, and then there's Caesar. We've seen all that, and he's been on the low for years, so he knows what he's doing. He knows what he can do and what he can't do to jeopardize this whole mission. Now, getting deeper into the chapter, it'll be just who Oda, as usual, he comes up. He comes up with his writing, he comes up with his pretty impressive characters. Now, I will say two things about basically Kaido as a Yonko and just the first two Yonko, which is Kaido and Big Mom, on one-on-one physical interactions. What I find interesting with One Piece and how we got this far in One Piece when it comes to Yonko arcs. One, well, basically later on after I talk about Kaido itself. One is the interesting thing about Kaido is he don't only display himself as an overpowered like entity or individual that rules over the land and can do whatever he wants essentially. He also kind of shows that he can have a weakness essentially, and his weakness can to a degree hinder himself from basically knowing logic. Yeah, he's an unstoppable force by far, especially what he has shown in this chapter so far. But at the same time, he can kind of show that he has a weakness, just like similar to how Big Mom weaknesses is basically she has hunger pains, she wants different types of sweets and foods to just different things about Big Mom and her, greed. Those are her weaknesses, along with her weaknesses with her whole crew being that they're all discombobulated. Yes, they can be well planned, formulated, and basically be aligned a certain degree to do certain tasks to get one big job done. But at the same time, there could be some discombobulation with some things inside the crew. And besides all that, just as other social media have said about the Big Mom Pirates, it's just why there is this discombobulation is, well, you have some people that have the entitlement of they're perfect or they're total badasses where it's like you can trust them to finish a job. And then you have some situations where some individuals in the crew, they're like, man, I don't want my balls and head served to Big Mom. I'm just going to just lie and act like and say that I've done what I did, basically. Now, I guess Kaido's weakness as a whole by himself is it's his drunken nature, which is pretty similar to Big Mom with her greed of food. The only difference is his greed is within basically getting drunk and a whole lot of alcohol. It seems, most likely heavy alcohol. The way he drinks, whether the fact of he doesn't only display himself as being strong and a strong entity within Wano, but he also showed himself to be a comedic slash dangerous like character because he literally flew around drunk with a poker face to a degree and be like, because he saw this group of people running away from him in this town. He's like, I know you. I know your ass somewhere. And he was like, you know what? All will be forgiven in a drunk face. He's like, all it will be forgiven if you become one of my subordinates, and we be all chill then. And it's like, God dang, you drunk. And even one of his supposed best men, or was best men. I'll get to that later on. Jack. Um, well, I'll get to Jack in another video because this is getting long a little bit. Yeah, Jack. He's gonna say, "You up in town drunk, Kaido? What is you doing? What is you doing, boy?" Because he has enough sense where it's like, yeah, Jack has enough sense where it's like, yeah, he's aggressive and he'd tear up stuff here and there with no hesitation. But at the same time, it's just he has enough sense where it's like, if my captain is drunk and he's in his full zone form of being a dragon, then that's a big problem. And this whole town is going to be eviscerated right here and now. Eviscerated and decimated right here and now. That's it. There ain't no coming back from this. Until Hawkins, as usual, lied and was like, yeah, the Straw Hats are over there. Which, if I gotta be funny, Hawkins pulled, how should I say this? He pulled a Pedro from from the Big Mom Pirates. Why I say he pull a Pedro is because remember in Whole Cake Island arc, around the climax, Pedro was lying to Big Mom saying, well, in order to save, Whole Cake Island towns to just the Charlie family's lives, because most of them were there, assumingly. He was like, oh, the Straw Hat stole the wedding cake. And that's what happened there. That's why I'm saying Hawkins pulled Pedro in that situation where it's like, yeah, you essentially lied, but at the same time, you're using town resources to know what you're doing, or of where the Straw Hats are and the Heart Pirates are. And yeah, he just said, yeah, that they're in Olden Castle over there, the ruins. And Kato was like, all right, the ruins. And he just got up and rolled. He just literally got up, rose, and rolled up to the ruins, flying there pretty dang fast. Because even when Luffy was trying to hunt after Kaido, running most likely 99 miles per hour, just running and sprinting as he usually does, trying to get to where the party at, fighting Kaido. He's like, damn, it's still too damn far for me to run my ass all the way over there to town trying to protect the people. And then Law caught up to him saying, look, Luffy, what is you doing, fam? Where three of us have already jeopardized our identities. We need to be on the low, trying to plan things out to basically take down Kaido slash take out Kaido, rather than jump into a situation, irreversible situation, and make things even worse. And Luffy just didn't even care essentially, and just kept running over there while they're just arguing about this stuff. Now, the saddest messed up part is when Kaido heard from Hawkins that they're all the way in Odin's ruin slash castle. It was just, it was a grim sight. It was like, it was pretty grim. Like, if I gotta say, if I had to make a good comparison, it was pretty grim as when Infinity War, arguably when Infinity War, whew, that, I'm trying to remember, that when Thanos got all the Infinity Stones, put it in the Infinity Gauntlet, and one snap of the fingers, half of the universe is just decimated as well too. That's how bad it was, because Kaido took the word of Hawkins seriously and just rolled up and just fire blasted the area. That's it. Now, as usual, Luffy saw this and Law saw it too, or took a glance at what had happened. And then, as soon as you know it, slash knew it, Law was looking around, be like, Luffy, where you at though? Where you at? Like, I'm trying to talk to you about this plan. Where you at? And then he sees him all the way over there with Kaido flying. And as Luffy's black self slash captain, Balls is, he came up in there angry and pissed. Pulled a Gumma Gumma no elephant gun on him and just knocked out Kaido. I wouldn't say he knocked him out, but he probably put in some pretty good substantial damage, or pretty okay damage. I don't know how good it was, but long story short, he just knocked his lights out a little bit, or it got him a little bit pissed. I don't know how good the punch is, but it's arguable. It's very arguable, especially with the fact of Kaido being drunk. Because either that might have messed him up even more because he's drunk, or it's something else. Now, the only reason why I said it probably might mess up even more is because it's kind of similar. I don't know. My theory with Kaido's like drinking being a weakness, it could be right or wrong, but it's just I would like to say that alcohol could be a weakness because he doesn't know right from wrong, or doesn't basically think logically in a sense. I mean, yes, you're a Yonko. You could do essentially whatever you want. You're a powerful entity, especially with a god like Dofruit. But at the same time, you should have some type of sense where you want towns or your territory to be unhindered in a sense. Again, similar to how Big Mom her hunger pains when she basically goes on a rampage and riot until you feed her whatever food she wants or whatever sweet she wants. She'll tear up her own territory as well too. So that's why I say it's kind of like a weakness. So it's arguable when Luffy did an elephant gun on him, whether he put substantial damage where it's a little, it might have messed up a little bit, or it just made him more pissed and just made Kaido more aware, or just basically made him stagger a little bit more because again you're drunk. So there's three things that could have happened when he knocked his lights out one way or the other. That, and he did come from technically a high class commander. I guess what's the word? A high class underling slash commander of a Yonko like Katakuri. So he most likely got stronger. So that punch most likely could have hindered Kaido one way or the other. I don't know how, but it could have, arguably. Now, my final thoughts when it comes to this chapter and the first pieces or the first arcs of the whole Yonko saga, it will be just that I would like to compliment Oda's writing just as much as other people complimented Oda's writing from, recent chapters like last chapter where they're like, yeah, yeah, Oda has been planning this for like 3 or 4 years or maybe even longer, arguably, where we were back at Punk Hazard and you had characters like Kyumon saying, yeah, the reason why I have beef with dragons is because they messed up my town and messed up my family. So one way or the other, yeah, I do have a beef with them, and I'm unapologetic for it. Now, those comments and videos like that, it will be just how should I say this? It will be just the fact of where my compliments with Oda and his writing. It will be just both Yonkos were cleverly done right. I would arguably say they were cleverly done right because, yeah, cleverly done right, and you had some deep foreshadowing for years in the One Piece fandom to the One Piece series. Because remember, And most likely people probably talked about this too, because there have been theories about this, whether it be Lola's twin. Yeah, Lola's twin. I think it was Lola who. Yeah, Lola or Lola's twin back in Throne of Bark. She basically made a foreshadow that her mother is a big time, strong person and can help the Straw Hats in the future, and gave Nami the Vivery card. Back in Throne of Bark, that was one foreshadow for Big Mom to come in the later future. Back in freaking Throne of Bark. Kaido, whew, Kaido, I would like to say, arguably, there's bits and pieces where he was foreshadowed. He could be arguably foreshadowed all the way back at Skypiea, because remember, pretty close to the prelude of Skypiea arc before the Straw Hats went up in the Skypiea itself islands. Doflamingo was hinted at and shown a few times as a powerful, like, on the low shadowy figure of an entity, it's like, yes, you could see Doflamingo physically, but you can never know his capabilities, or arguably what his Delph was, or what his Delph could possibly do. All you know is he was a good manipulator, and he was a powerful shadowy figure like entity that was controlling people and controlling certain events going on, which arguably is nothing wrong with that sense, because even arguably the nickname Heavenly Demon, when he was one of the seven warlords, was one of the most strongest warlords ever in the whole, I guess, faction of this part of the Navy. Now, another example for Kaido's foreshadowing would be, again, like how other people were saying, back at Punk Hazard, is assumingly, but even going back with Big Mom, just like similar with Punk Hazard, you have foreshadowing there in the New World. With Kaido, you literally have foreshadowing for Big Mom as the first big Yonko / opponent to run across with the Straw Hats, because of the first quick visit and first arc back in Fishman Island, and that was a big foreshadow as well too for Big Mom. So that's just my compliments to Oda for being a good writer and knowing what he's doing, to just basically how he has, you know, foreshadowing here and there, whether he has small pieces of strong, prominent characters that has something to do with bigger, prominent, stronger characters like the Yonko, to basically certain events that's going on, and everything adds up one way or the other. Because, heck, arguably just as much as I can arguably say Doflamingo was a prominent character to, be a good example for Kaido being an entity to face later on in time, like Doflamingo being a character for Kaido's representative of of someone to face off with later in time back in Skypiea. I would like to say strongly and arguably back in Impel Down, arguably, with Jinbei, he was a strong, prominent character for Big Mom, reveal sooner or later, um, to be aligned with Jinbei, arguably, because remember, Big Mom, when it comes to her nation, is all races are accepted essentially. For the most part, they're all accepted with some prices to pay, and maybe a little trash talk from Big Mom behind her doors and her whole cake chateau. But even besides from all that, they're still all accepted essentially for the most part. The thing is with Jinbei being not only a warlord, but also a warlord that's under, another Yonko, similar to how Doflamingo and Law has been doing it in a sense. With Kaido, Jinbei had no choice but to do that with Big Mom because he did that because he was being a strong representative of what certain people like Fisher Tiger or Princess Orihime or whatever back at Fishman Island, where they wanted peace and wanted a, like, what's the word? A, sorry, I'm just trying to think. They wanted a fair, like, communion with the rest of the world, along with basically essentially being a part of the, like, government system, along with having some extra protection of the Fishman Island because, one, they're under the sea. Heck, even when back in the day when racism from fishmen were that when true it was truly bad, it was horrendous, and you had pirates and other people stealing fishmen and just mermaids from under the sea. It was some shady business. So again, Jinbei had no choice sooner or later to become a strong subordinate for a Yonko like Big Mom because it was just extra protection for themselves. Even if the government was a good umbrella for them or a good example that the fish, they're showing that the fishmen are there and they do matter. This is just like, us people as black people, we're here, we matter. It's the same. It's the same thing as what Jimmy was trying to do for his people. So again, I like to say that Oda is having phenomenal and just impeccable type writing skills when it comes to foreshadowing and what he does with characters and how he lines it up and just how he, foreshadow how, certain domino effects are going on and how they're relatable to certain chapters and certain new arcs. But that is my chapter review and my thoughts of what's going on recently with the certain recent arcs and sagas with this whole big Yonko versus saga going on with the four Yonko. Thank you for watching my video. If you watched it, please leave a like and please also subscribe if you like this video and my other videos. Thank you. Bye.